All right, 13.6, apply the law of cosines. Now, this formula is a harder one to remember because, like, law of sines, if you know one of them, you kind of know the whole thing. But these ones just look a little different. So the law of cosines, if we can't focus and do this, I'm going to take the cubes. Law of cosines says if triangle ABC has sides of length A, B, and C as shown. So I'll give you a triangle picture. Like that. Then A squared is equal to B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cosine A. B squared is equal to A squared plus C squared minus 2AC cosine B. And C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared minus 2AB cosine C. Bless you. So we previously did angle, angle, side, angle, and side, angle. Okay, but now these cases work when we have side, angle, side, or side, side. So when you get to the quiz or the test, you need to make sure you know, because you can't use law of sines initially with side, angle, side, or side, side. Okay, and you can't use law of cosines with side, angle. So you have to make sure that you pay attention to what type you have to be able to do that. Now, the nice thing about these is there's only one triangle for these, and there's no situation that is going to be no triangle, if memory serves me correctly. Yeah. The other thing, because I obviously hadn't given you the area formula in the other notes the other day, but I am going to give you the area formula for this one. So it's slightly different. This one is called Heron's area formula. The area of the triangle with sides of length A, B, and C is area is equal to the square root of S times S minus A times S minus B times S minus C. And you're probably like, what is S? They don't give us that. S is 1/2 A plus B plus C. So you add up all the sides and take half of it, and then that's what S is for that formula. The variable S is called the semi-perimeter, or half perimeter of the triangle. So I think both area formulas are pretty easy. This one you can only do if you're given all three side lengths. The other one, obviously, we had, two sides and an angle was how I think was that one. Anyways. So if you're given only all three sides, this is the formula you would need to use to find it. All right, so the first problems just say to choose a method. So it says for the given case, tell whether you would use law of sines or law of cosines to solve the triangle. So For angle, side, angle, what would I use for this one? I just said, which law of sines or law of cosines, would we use to solve this situation?
Law of sines.
Law of sines. How about side, angle, side? Law of cosines. All right, next one, they give you a triangle already drawn. Some of them they don't. Obviously, on a quiz or something, I'm not going to give you the triangle already drawn, but you can draw it whichever way you want. This one, we have a triangle. It's drawn upside down for how I would normally draw it. And then they give us, this is 9, this is 35, and this is 7. So which situation is this?
Side, angle, side.
Side, angle, side. So that means we're going to use law of cosine. So again, I'm going to set up just like I did in the other one. I'm going to set up my angles and my sides. So let's see, side C is 9, side A is, angle A is 35, and side B is 7. All right, so law of cosines. So I need to look at what piece of information can I solve for. So the formulas, okay, whatever side I want to solve for, I have to have the other two sides, which in this case I'm going to, but I also have to have that angle. So in this case, I have angle A and I have side B and side C, so I'm going to use the first one to solve for A, which is A squared is equal to B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cosine A. And so when you're solving for the side, when you set it up, if you want to go ahead and like draw the square root so you can just do everything at once, like that's fine. That's what I normally do to save having to write. So like when I go to plug in the numbers, I'll do it like this, and I'll go, and I'll go ahead and plug it in. So B squared, so that's 7 squared plus 9 squared minus 2 times 7 times 9 times the cosine of 35, and still degree mode for these as well, obviously.
Oh. Yeah.
So then you can type the whole thing into your calculator.
I got
5.17.
Yeah.
All right, so we're just going to call it 5, just to make it easy. So we'll round to the whole numbers for these. All right, now, this is where I'm going to tell you, you have to be careful, because sometimes what ends up happening when you solve these is that you'll actually get different values depending on which one you do first. Okay, so I always start with the biggest one and then work my way down. So meaning the biggest side to solve for the other angle. You could still use law of cosines. Okay, we could use law of cosines and have to solve for angle C. But solving for angle C out of this entire formula is going to be kind of miserable. So what you can do at this point is you can actually switch to law of sines now. So I'm going to switch to law of sines because once I have more information, I can now use that, which is obviously an easier formula. And we don't have to go back and, like, we're not finding h or anything. We're just continuing the process of finding these last two pieces. So I'm going to do angle C first. So sine of C over 9 is equal to the sine of 35 over 5. So C is going to be equal to the inverse sine of 9 sine of 35 over 5. Huh?
That's sort of fine.
Down here?
Yeah.
It's a 5. It does kind of look like an S. There we go.
Is that 9? Or is that an
9.
Can you air it?
Yeah. It says it's not allowed in the function.
Don't mean air it.
A? Many degrees.
Hmm.
I'm gonna put it in radius and get the answer.
Yeah, but it's.
Okay, let's try the other one then. I don't know why it's doing that. So sine of B over 7 is equal to sine of 35 over 5. So B equals the inverse sine of 7 sine of 35 over 5. Try that one and see what happens.
Yeah, 53.41.
Okay. All right, so we'll call that 53. I honestly don't know why the other one didn't work, but anyways. So then how would I find C since obviously this isn't working? Just disregard that, I guess. Yep. So 180 minus 35 minus 53, 92. All right, now the thing to note is, and the reason I always say to start with the bigger one is because the biggest side has to have the biggest angle. And sometimes if you don't do that, what happens is your biggest side won't have the biggest angle. And so that's why I say to do that. I don't honestly know why it didn't work. The formula is supposed to work and it didn't. So anyways, I don't know what's happening with that one, but we'll just, if that ever happens, just try the other one and then just do 180 minus it because I don't know what's going on. All right. I'm going to jump down to, don't fall. the ones where they just give you information now. 14. So they tell you side A is 38, side B is 31, and side C is 35. So, which situation do I have here? Side, side, side. All right, so now this is where it gets a little annoying because now I have to manipulate the law of cosines, right, for an angle. So I'm going to go ahead and set everything up. So I'm going to solve for angle A because side A is the biggest. So I'm going to start with the formula and I'm going to show you how to manipulate it, like the formula that we would have been given. So A squared is equal to B squared plus C squared minus 2 times B times C times the cosine of A. All right, so we would subtract B squared and C squared. So A squared minus B squared minus C squared. Then I'm going to, so now disregard this. Now I have this and I need to get the cosine of A by itself. So I'm ultimately getting A by itself. So I'm going to take and divide by this negative 2BC. Okay, so now all that's gone. And then the last thing I have is I need to get rid of cosine, so I'm going to do the inverse cosine. And that's going to give me angle A. Okay, so you can either memorize a modified formula or you can just learn how to manipulate it, and if you need to use it, then you can do that. But that's why I wanted to show you what the manipulated formula looks like. So I don't care if you memorize it or you manipulate it. It's whatever, it's up to you. So now, plugging stuff in, I've got the inverse cosine of 38 squared minus 31 squared minus 35 squared all over negative 2 times 31 times 35. Let's see if this one works this time.
Seventy.
70.
Yeah.
So that's angle A. So now I'm going to find C is the next biggest, so I'm going to do that one. And I'm going to use law of sines just because it's easier. So sine of C over 35 equals sine of 70 over 38. So C is the inverse sine of 35 sine of 70 over 38.
No, something.
Yep, so we'll call that 60. And then angle B is obviously the easiest one. 180 minus 70 minus 60. 50. And biggest angles with biggest side, smallest angles, smallest side, so we're good. Now, if you, let's say you did them out of order and you didn't, and it gives you something where like your biggest side has like your second or your smallest angle, whatever, just make a note that tell me that you saw that, because sometimes that does happen and I would hate for you to do all the work and then be like, oh no, this isn't right, and have to go back and do it all over again. So let's say that that did happen. Just put a little note and just say something like biggest angle should have biggest side or something like that. Because as long as your work is right, then I'm going to know that it was just the order that you did it, because sometimes that happens. Now, this one obviously is fine, but if that were to happen, just put a little note on there so that I see that you at least recognize that something, like, that it doesn't make sense, like, logically. Okay? Huh? All right, we're going to do one more. I want you to try this one on your paper, on your own, because the only step that's different than the ones we were doing yesterday really is the first step of using the law of cosines. And obviously we know in this section that that's what you're going to be doing. So, 16, angle B is 63 degrees, side A is 29, and side C is 38. should that give you an error? The other thing I'm going to tell you while you're working is that sometimes if you don't do the angles in the order that I said, one of your angles is going to be off by like a degree or so, or a side length might be off by 1 or so. I'm usually pretty lenient when it comes to grading as long as I see your work, because if you had done this one, if you did the smaller angle first, so if you did A before you did C, you're going to get a different angle than what you do if you do C first. But it's just off by 1 degree, just because of rounding. So as long as you're within like 1, maybe even 2, depending, I'm usually, pretty lenient.
Look at what it did and see what I did wrong. So what do you have here? Oh, they just said,
Can you go on the iPad? Can you go up like a little bit?
Yeah.
I want to see if I wrote this
I
right.
have to go up a lot because I have the answer already written. My guess is it's because there's not a parentheses here, because I usually put a parentheses after the negative sign when I type it in my calculator if I do it all as one thing. And then I close the parentheses at the end. Otherwise, I'm not sure what the problem is.
Did you get 38?
Huh?
Wait, just.
I still got an
Put
error.
that right.
I would try to type things individually then, because
One number off.
something isn't right. I would do like everything and then I would take the square root of that number. Is it telling you what kind of error, or does yours just say error?
This is an error.
Oh, because mine will tell me what kind of error it is.
Mine says domain.
Yeah. Invalid dimension, domain, those are common ones.
Can you just go back down?
Just to the problem. Because I was going to say, I have the answer written, so.
That's crazy. Reasonable number.
Huh?
I knew that. 38. Not yet.
There.
So it's
Okay. That's a touch on where that means.
not yet. What did you do? This is more hard. This is not very hard. But I'm trying to find the angle. Playing with time.
What?
Find the angle. See?
Right here.
All right, have we gotten an answer of some sort, right, wrong, or otherwise? Have we gotten an answer in some fashion?
No.
Yeah.
I don't.
Wait.
Oh, okay.
All right, what did we get for side B?
36.
Yeah.
Everybody agree on 36?
Yeah.
Wait.
So we did the law of cosines part right. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, I did that wrong.
So on the
You didn't get
quiz,
36.
Do you have to remember all these?
Huh?
On the quiz, do you have to remember all these?
Yes.
I'm saying one.
But if you remember one, you'll know you can figure out the other ones. I'll show you in a second. All right, what do we get for angle C? Because that was the biggest angle, or should have been the biggest angle.
71.
70.
Okay, so did you find A first?
No.
You did C first?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you use the unrounded number from B?
No, I rounded.
Okay. I got 70. Angle A. Oh gosh, what's happening?
46.
Okay. Well, that makes sense for the numbers that you had. What did you get?
That's 29.
29.
I think I did something wrong.
Yeah. All right. So, law of cosines part. 29 squared plus 38 squared minus 2 times 29 times 38 cosine of 63. Take the square root of all that. You got 35.8, which rounds to 36. So now at that point I had all three sides, and I had angle B. So then I went to angle C next, and when I did that, it was like 70.13. So I rounded to 70. Not sure, Tristan, why you got 71 doing it in that order.
I did cos
Well, you
-1,
can't do that.
but I still got 71.
Well, it would give you a wrong answer, like a super wrong answer normally.
I don't know how I got 71.
I don't
I
either.
just got lucky.
Or hold on. Did you mean you use the law of cosines again?
Yeah.
Oh,
think I
then
did.
maybe. I thought you meant in the law of sines you used cosine, and I was like, that's not going to work. That's possible. If you use law of cosines again, then yes, that's possible. And then angle A then is just 180 minus 70 minus 63.
Okay, for angle A, I did get 47. I thought you meant side A.
Oh.
I said 29.
I found out whenever I used whiteout because when I messed up my thing, I wrote the formula, and then I forgot to put two C's down, so it was just cos, not A times C.
All right, I'm going to go back up before I do a couple area problems for you. I'm going to go back up here, and I'm going to look at the formulas and just show you a little way to kind of help you remember it. So whatever angle you're given, okay, that's the formula that you have to use because that's like your only option. So whatever angle you're given, and that's the side that's missing, that's the one that you have. So that's going to be that side is equal to the other two sides added together. So the first part of the formula looks just like the Pythagorean theorem. The letters are just in a different spot. Okay, so that kind of help you think of that. Minus 2 times whatever two sides you're given, okay, times the cosine of whatever angle you were given. And then I would just remember that, and then I would manipulate the formula personally. I don't memorize that angle A is equal to whatever, blah 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 blah. I memorize this. Once I know one of them, I can figure out the other ones because this is all based off given information. Everything on the right side of that formula would have been given to you, unless you're solving for an angle, then obviously, but then you just manipulate it. So, and at that point, it doesn't matter. You can pick whichever one, but again, I would recommend you pick the one that has the biggest side because otherwise your answer could be thrown off. So, any questions about the law of cosines? Okay, so I'm going to jump down to some area problems, just do like one or two because they're super easy. Let me see. All right. Find the area with the given side length. So again, these ones have to give you all three sides for you to be able to do this. So 24, A is 12, B is 7, C is 8. So the first thing I need to do is find S, which is half of all the sides added together. So S is equal to 1/2 of 12 plus 7 plus 8. Now, obviously, it works out really nice when it's an even number because then it makes out a nice even number. But otherwise, it's just going to be something 0.5. So this is what, 27, so 13.5, I think. For that. So then, area is the square root of S, so 13.5, times 13.5 minus 12, so minus A, times 13.5 minus B, which is 7. Oops, not 13. 13.5. And don't round on these or you'll get the wrong answer. So you can't round the S value. And then 13.5 minus 8. There we go. And we'll still just go to the nearest whole number for these for the answer. So, and if you go out to a decimal place, that's fine. But if you just want to round to the nearest whole number, that's also fine. All right, we'll do one more. I'm going to have you guys try this one by yourself as well, just to make sure you got the process down. These ones are pretty easy, but A is 25, B is 24, and C is 19. So take a minute and work that one. The other thing I'll say about these while you're typing this stuff in or whatever, make sure that when I give you an area problem, that I give you something that actually makes a triangle. Do you know what I mean by that? Okay, make sure that when you add up any two sides, it's greater than or equal to the third side. So I can't do it right now. But if I gave you the side lengths of a triangle is 1, 3, and 5. When I add up 1 and 3, it's not greater than 5. So that would not make a triangle. So it's something I know you've seen in geometry, but sometimes I'll do that. I'll throw that in as a trick question to see if people are paying attention, because I want to make sure. And the first time it happened because of a typo. And then I was like, people weren't paying attention. And then after that, I just throw it in every once in a while. All right, what's our area? 214, everyone agree? All right. Sweet.
On the first try.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and give you the problems, but we only have a few minutes left today. Tomorrow, you'll have all of class to work on this, and we're going to be ready for another quiz on Tuesday. Okay, now, the other thing I'm going to say, because if you're worried about the difference between law of sines and law of cosines, aside from just memorizing, the things, typically, and I won't say always because sometimes I mix it up, but typically I write my quizzes and tests in order of how we covered material. So if we covered, law of sines first, the first problems on the quiz should be law of sines, and then the ones toward the end should be law of cosines, because I try to keep them in order. But there's also problems in this section if you want some extra practice. 36 through 41, it says to determine which method you need to use and then solve based on that. And it even throws out Pythagorean theorem as an option because one of them gives the angle of 90 degrees. So then you could find everything else using the Pythagorean theorem. So just be aware that if you're like super worried about it, usually I try to write it in order. I'm not going to say it's 100% of the time because sometimes things get mixed up, but if that helps you. And I have your last quizzes to give back. They've been graded for a while, and I just keep forgetting to give them back. So